Hi, welcome to Boring Money, Rich Life. Today we're going to talk about what is your biggest expense. I feel like when we ask ourselves that question, it's usually when we're trying to do a budget. And we probably ask ourselves these questions either at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, because that's when most people are starting to reevaluate their spending and just try to get a little bit more honest on where their money is going. We might think our biggest expense is shopping, eating out, or maybe we have like a boat or something like that, traveling. But I was reading this book, and I did share this book in my last video. It's called The Holistic Wealth Strategy by Dave Wolcott. And I will say this is a good read. The fact that I'm making a second video about it, I would say it's worth reading. In his book, he says that our biggest expense is actually not what you might think. So it's not the weekly movie nights that you do or going out to eat. What your biggest expense is actually taxes. Because you have to think, we pay taxes as employees, so we get taxed every check. Then we have to pay taxes around tax season, right? Depending on what you're able to claim, you might pay more in taxes or you might pay a little bit less in taxes. We also get taxed every single time we buy something. So our biggest expense is not really what we think. It's really not the car, although that is a huge expense. It's really taxes. And he was saying that the rich, they pay so much attention to how much they're spending in taxes. And they pretty much structure their entire business around how they can save their money. And that is why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Because if you think about how much the poor pay in taxes, and then you add like inflation on top of all of that, the poorer people or even like middle class people are getting incredibly more financially destitute than somebody who is rich and they have the ability to hire like a CPA who can help them. So he was saying that instead of getting angry about it, instead of being upset about it, you should actually start getting more familiar with the tax code. Now, I'm going to be honest, that's probably not realistic for everybody because the tax code is what, 6,000 pages long. So, what you can really do is, look at ways that you yourself can build a business. Look at ways that you yourself can become an investor. And then you can work with a CPA who can help you create these different tax strategies. So that way you can structure your business in a way that actually partners with the government. Because he was saying we really have to start changing our mindset when it comes to taxes. Like taxes, if you have to pay a lot in taxes, that pretty much means you're doing what the government does not want you to do. And the reason why these corporations are able to sometimes pay nothing in taxes is because they're doing what the government wants them to do. So they're creating jobs, they're adding a boost in the economy because they're providing a service that people are willing to pay for. So think about like an Amazon, right? So many people want to work for Amazon. Amazon is actually one of the most desired companies to work for because their barrier to entry, like the standards that they set for their employees, are pretty high. So to say you work at an Amazon, to say you work at a Microsoft, to say you work at a Google, it's a big deal to have that type of title. So, of course, the government is going to incentivize them because they're creating jobs in our economy. Also, the government is going to incentivize them because they are providing a service that people want. So, they have Amazon Prime, they have Amazon TV, they have, all these different things, right, that people want. They're even in like grocery stores and have a connection with Whole Foods and things like that. So you have to understand that the government likes doing that. Like the government likes the fact that they are doing that. Now, compare that to just a standard employee. All of that employee is doing is spending 40 hours a week working a job and collecting a paycheck. The employee really isn't doing anything that is actually helping the government. It's not making the government's job easier because you have to think the government has to provide food to people, housing sometimes. When you think about like Social Security and food stamps and Medicare and all these different things and Medicaid, right? So when you have a corporation who is actually helping the government and then you have just an employee, of course, one is going to get a lot more benefits and tax deductions than just a W-2 employee. So I would say read the book. Like, I would say read the book and then do your own research. Figure out, can you yourself start a side hustle? Can you yourself start a business? Of course, it's going to take time. Of course, it's going to be a journey. You're not probably going to be a millionaire overnight. But when we start to think about how can we fuel our rich life? How can we become these people and start to receive all of these incentives? You're not going to do it as an employee. Now, you can do both. So I think that's a very smart thing to do. Like, if you have your job and while you're building your business, you continue to work, great, because you're going to have some more stable income while you're actually building your business. A lot of people do that, right? Until they're able to run their business full time. But strictly being an employee is going to be so expensive. And I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that right now as we're filing our taxes. Like, if you just look on TikTok, people are saying that they already owe money and all these different things. So we have to start looking at taxes not as something that is just not avoidable, because that's actually not true. We have to look at taxes as an expense. We have to look at ourselves as business owners and investors who partner with different CPAs and tax professionals so that way we can start to minimize our tax responsibility. So, as always, what is one boring thing that you can do today to start fueling your rich life? I'm your host, Joy Hicks. Thank you for watching and be sure to subscribe.